afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this beautiful room in the Bell Inn in Ticehurst for our marriage ceremony today. Whilst my colleague at the table, Emma Reynolds, is the marriage registrar, and it's Emma's job today to ensure that all of the legalities are met, that we say the words in the right order as are prescribed by the law, that the registers that we keep forever here in East Sussex are accurately completed, and the certificates are issued. Without Emma, today's proceedings would not be lawful. We are your marriage team, and it is genuinely a pleasure to be here. But without two people, today's proceedings would not be necessary. And so, I, on behalf of you all, would like to welcome our beautiful couple, Caroline and Matthew. Would you all please take your seats? So I have to begin by saying that this room in which we're all gathered in has been duly sanctioned according to law for the celebration and solemnisation of civil marriages. That we are all here today to witness the joining of Matthew Sharp with Caroline Mary Jennings. But before I can proceed with the ceremony, I have to ask if any person here present knows of a lawful reason why I should not continue. They should declare it now. Laughter is good. So today is all about relationships, and the couple have given a lot of thought over their 6 years together to make the decision today to walk down the aisle and to change the nature of their relationship. So you walked in as two separate people, but today you will leave as a husband and as a wife. Now, these are not just legal terms. They denote a very change in the nature of the relationship between two people. When you make a commitment to another to stay with them for the rest of their lives, that changes you. And so you've assembled around you the people you love and care about the most, and the music just comes from heaven. To say that everything is welcome. Everything is welcome. And to your guests, a very special welcome to you all here today. Now, our marriage ceremony is a very simple one. The couple will make two sets of declarations before you. The first, where they declare that they are free to marry, and the second, where they turn and make a commitment to one another. As they speak those words, which are called the contracting vows, they actually become husband and wife. The third element of today is the giving and the receiving of a ring. So for all its simplicity, this marriage ceremony has existed in this form in this country since 1837. Marriage is defined as the union of two people voluntarily entered into for life to the exclusion of all others. It is solemn, and it is binding, and is not to be entered into ill-advisedly or without giving it a good deal of thought. Now, one of the things that people talk about in our increasingly consumerist culture is the way things are disposable. And as we've got the images of nature all around this room and the beehives, it's a very symbolic act that you're doing, making the commitment to be husband and wife. And it takes a lifetime to fulfill. It's born in private, it's something that you feel deeply, a commitment that you want to make to another person. And today is the day that you gather those around you to wish you well on the journey. So, Matthew and Caroline have thought carefully about their ceremony, and they've asked people to contribute in certain ways. And so I'd like to invite, first of all, Deborah, the mother of the bride, to share a reading for us.
To love is not to possess, by James Kavanagh. To love is not to possess, to own or imprison, nor to lose oneself in another. Love is to join and separate, to walk alone and together, to find a laughing freedom that lonely isolation does not permit. It is finally to be able to be who we really are, no longer clinging in childish dependency, nor docilely living separate lives in silence. It is to be perfectly oneself and perfectly joined in permanent commitment to one another and to one's inner self. Love only endures when it moves like waves, receding and returning gently or passionately, or moving lovingly like the tide, in the moon's own predictable harmony. Because finally, despite a child's scars or an adult's deepest wounds, they are openly free to be who they really are, and always secretly were, in the very core of their being, where true and lasting love can alone abide.
Thank you, Deborah, for that reading, and I think those are wise words to be brought. And if you think about love we often think as an emotional thing, it's a feeling. And it is, because love is what brought you to the threshold today. But love will not make a marriage work, because a marriage is work. It's about committing, it's about saying, no matter how bad it's going to get, you can rely on me. No matter how windy it will blow, I will be your shield and your shelter. We wish you both every happiness in this new commitment. Are you ready to make your vows? I do solemnly declare.
I do solemnly declare.
That I know not.
That I know not.
Of any lawful impediment.
Any lawful impediment.
Of any lawful impediment.
Any lawful impediment.
Why I, Matthew Sharp.
Why I, Matthew Sharp.
May not be joined in matrimony.
May not be joined in matrimony.
To Caroline Mary Jennings.
To Caroline Mary Jennings.
Caroline. I do solemnly declare.
I do solemnly declare.
That I know not.
That I know not.
Of any lawful impediment.
Of any lawful impediment.
Why I, Caroline Mary Jennings.
Why I, Caroline Mary Jennings.
May not be joined in matrimony.
May not be joined in matrimony.
To Matthew Sharp.
To Matthew Sharp.
Well done. And that's the first declaration made. I call upon these persons.
Call upon these persons.
Here present to witness.
Here present to witness.
That I, Matthew Sharp.
That I, Matthew Sharp.
Do take thee, Caroline Mary Jennings.
Do take thee, Caroline Mary Jennings.
To be my lawful wedded wife.
To be my lawful wedded wife.
And Caroline? I call upon these persons here present.
I call upon these persons here present.
To witness that I, Caroline Mary Jennings.
To witness that I, Caroline Mary Jennings.
Do take thee, Matthew Sharp.
Do take thee, Matthew Sharp.
To be my lawful wedded husband.
To be my lawful wedded husband.
And now the ancient and traditional way of sealing a marriage commitment is by the giving and the receiving of a ring. Now these rings, which you'll have a chance to look at later, are made from white gold. And that gold has been forged from deep within the earth by millennia of pressure and heat and movement of the earth's core. This precious metal was dug from the earth and fashioned into a perfect circle with no beginning and no end, and it's a symbol of your union. These rings show that from today, what you have created has no ending and is precious and durable. Could I invite Andrew in his role as best man to present the ring, first of all, that Matthew is giving to his wife.
Hey guys.
So if you place the ring on the third finger of her left hand, all the way on, halfway. If you say to her, Caroline, with this ring,
Caroline, with this ring,
I promise to love and protect you.
I promise to love and protect you.
I will celebrate with you in times of happiness
I will celebrate with you in times of happiness
and stand by you in times of struggle.
and stand by you in times of struggle.
I promise to try to make you laugh
I promise to try to make you laugh
and to challenge you every day.
and to challenge you every day.
The plants are green. I promise to keep you safe
I promise to keep you safe
and will support you
and will support you
always.
always.
And now, Andrew, if you present the ring to Caroline that she's going to give to Matthew. With the third finger of his left hand. Matthew, with this ring,
Matthew, with this ring,
I promise to be passionate.
I promise to be passionate.
Passionate in my support of you.
Passionate in my support of you.
Passionate when we disagree.
Passionate when we disagree.
And passionate in my love for you.
And passionate in my love for you.
I promise to be silly
I promise to be silly
and make you laugh.
and make you laugh.
And to spend my life
And to spend my life
trying to be as good for you
trying to be as good for you
as you are for me.
as you are for me.
And so you have both made those declarations as is required by the law. You have given and received a ring on which you have spoken your own vows of commitment to one another. It therefore is a great privilege for me to say you are lawfully husband and wife. Before we have some recorded music, we'd like to invite Nick, who's going to come and perform a song for the couple before they sign the register.
There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, none for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places after moments with lovers and friends, I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life I've loved them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you, and all these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them, but in my life I love you more. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them, but in my life I love you more.
else would like to take a photo, now's your chance. I can tell by the volume it's going to be quite a party. We're nearly at the end of the ceremony. I'd just like to hand over now to Emma Reynolds, the marriage registrar.
Well, I'm now about to present you with your marriage certificate, but I would just like to tell you traditionally the marriage certificate is the property of the bride. So Caroline, here we go. Congratulations to you both. And to you, thank you. Well done.
And now I'd like to invite Jessica, the maid of honour, to come and read for us.
I should warn you, this is quite long, so get comfy. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the couple who'll decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down a not so good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's open there, in the wide open air. Out there things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsie as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along, you'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way, you'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true, that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You get all hung up in a prickling perch, and your gang will fly on, you'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You can get so confused that you'll start in to race down long wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace, and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place. But no, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape the waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky. Ready because you're those kind of guys. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done, there are points to be scored, there are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winners of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win, because you'll play against you. All alone. Whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some, down the road between hither and yon, that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hack and cracks howl. Onward up, many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike. And I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure where you step. Step with care and great tact. And remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft. And never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kids, you'll move mountains. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get away.
And so I think those are really fitting words for us to be leaving you with, which is it's 98.3% guaranteed. 98.75% guaranteed. And for the other piece of it, that's where you all come in. I said at the beginning that you were specially chosen to be here today. And that's because over the years that come, as we've heard the journey Jessica described, stuff will get bumpy and difficult and plants will spill. But when those winds assail the couple, as they will, from today forward, there are now 3 sides to every argument. There is Matthew's side, there's Caroline's side, and there's the side of their marriage. And your job is to take always the side of their marriage. Because without you, they won't get there. It takes a community to make it work. And we wish you both, all 3 of you, you two and your marriage, every happiness together, and genuinely hope that whenever things go, you can look back and say, I was there on Sunday, the 25th of May in 2014, when I saw the creation of the new union. Please stand, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for Mr. and Mrs. Sharp.
Right now. Oh no, I'm on camera. Lovely. Okay, guys, that's beautiful. Eagles. Lovely. All right, my crew. So we're going to take this. Really nice, guys. Look at it. Don't look at the camera. Look anywhere but the camera. Look at someone else. Just don't look at the camera. Hi. Gosh. Don't look at the camera. Thank you, my friends. That's perfect. You're doing so much better if you're not looking at that facing you. So turn fully round, and then stick one hip right out. That's it, and then your hand on the other hip. That's it, perfect. But I was going to say, pretty much know you mostly correct. Yeah. Lovely. Have we got Nick? I can see your attention waning.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. I'm going off
She sent me to find some buffers.
Yeah, I've got them now, but I don't want to find her.
Hitler's Mussolini and then
So there are a number of people that would like to thank, but thank you all for being here. And a lot of you have come from far away. You've got South Africa down that end, so thank you very much for being here. I know it's in the middle of nowhere. If some of you have to sleep on the floor later, that's fine. But the staff have said they'll taxi people to places, so it will be fine. Now, flowers on the tables. It took a lot of work yesterday. And please take them home at the end of the night. They're just going to, please just grab bundles of them and just take them home. And in terms of food, beer and wine is on us all evening, so don't go buying any. And there's more champagne downstairs when you get downstairs.
Hey, of course.
Too merry over there. Naughty table, naughtiest corner. Now, I want to say a few words about my husband. But before I start on you, Andy, our best man. Thank you for remembering the rings. Thank you for remembering the ties. And thank you for getting Matt here in the right time. That was a bit of an issue. Now on to the most important person in the room, well, at least to me. And maybe to Sue too. Oh, sorry, Duncan.
I came from Belgium, by the way. It's kind of fun.
So, some of you may know, some of you may not, most of you may not. The year before I met Matthew was, I didn't sleep very well. But the first night we spent together, cramped in a tiny single bed in a hostel in the middle of downtown Beijing, was the best night's sleep of my life. He calms me like no one and no thing ever has. And he is my absolute peace, and I love him. So please, just I love him. Okay, so speaking of Beijing, some of you may not know the story of how we met. But by the end of the night, you'll be sick of it, because everyone doing speech is just like, how much China can I use? You'll be sick of it. But there's one person in this room who we should probably thank above everyone else. She's sitting there. Katia. She introduced us on one sunny day in July 2008. But that's not why we should thank her. The reason it happens to be thanked is that her reaction when I told her that Matthew was following me to China, the first 3 words out of her mouth were, "Don't kiss him." She went on to tell me that he tries to kiss all her friends. I have to thank her for it, because quite honestly, before that, although you were lovely, charming, I hadn't really thought about kissing him.
So although it's probably posed a difficulty for some people in this room, my parents are probably high up on that list. Not doing as I'm told is sometimes a good thing. So where are we up to? So I want to thank Matt's mum and dad, Sue and Peter. Raising the kindest, most wonderful man. Truly, he's a credit to you. And if we're lucky enough to have boys, if they're half as decent and wonderful, then we'll be very
She's on her way.
It's Raoul.
And also my godparents, Sam and John, at the end of the table. Thank you. Unconditional love and support. I love you so much. And to the four most important 20-something females in my life, 1, 2, 3, 4. Aren't they beautiful, guys? Thank you so much. Round of applause. Thank you all for being the best friends that a girl could ever hope for. I can't think of many people that would stay up till 1 a.m. dealing with my neuroses, as Fiona did on Friday night, and Jess did last night, although we did open a bottle of champagne at 12:30, so that helped. It was 2:30 last night. Thank you too to my honorary bridesmaid, Claudia. I couldn't have done this weekend without you, darling. Seriously, the flowers in this room, it's all her. A special thank you to my beautiful maid, Veronica. She has had quite a lot to put up with over the last year. Most annoyingly, I imagine, the fact that I kept suggesting things. They've already planned a surprise. It just goes to show how in tune we are, darling. So thank you. And my last thanks go to my fabulous parents, Christopher. He's doing the speech tonight. And Deborah did a wonderful reading earlier. For all their support and encouragement in every aspect of my life, I thank them. And I will forever be grateful that they have raised me both separately and together to believe in love and marriage, no matter what. You can only live for the present, and in this present, I am the happiest I've ever been. Aww. Because it's my wedding day, I mean our wedding day. And I can get away with being soppy today and not be teased mercilessly by my husband. Wonderful friends and family, thank you again for being here and sharing this evening with us. I hope you enjoy yourselves, not too much. And please join me in raising a glass. Any glass will do. Champagne's for the proper speeches, so don't give me that. To the reason that we're here, to the thing which in all of its forms makes life worth living. Ladies and gentlemen, to love.
Doesn't she look great? I think it's absolutely marvellous that you're all here, and I think we all ought to say thank you to Matt and Caroline for such a great party. Now, I'm supposed to tell you a few, intimate sort of spicy sort of details about Caroline. But once they've all been censored, there was not much left. But I will be able to tell you one or two things. One of them was that she always had style. Now, when she was that size, it was style and pink. And when she was this size, it was style and pink. And I'll tell you this, I know she's there in white, but I bet there's some pink somewhere. Now, you know her as a serious young lady, I know that. But she's always been ambitious, and in lots of areas. And one of them that I'll tell you about is her singing. She had singing lessons, and she started to write her own songs. And the tunes. And she taped them all. And I'm sure she'll be delighted to know that the tapes are in a place where I can't remember at the moment. Anyway, she did other things. There was the army. Now, you don't associate the army with Caroline, I know, but she joined at Alain's and she discovered that she just was not an ordinary skinny girl, which was what she actually was at that point. She could carry the same equipment as the boys, and she did. And believe you me, when I had to pick it up and put it in the back of my car to take it home, bloody heavy. By the time she left, she was a great success. She was, I think the phrase is, a colour sergeant. Now, I don't know whether that's really important, but I think it is. Some of the other things she does some things for charity. And this is a variety of things, from meals for down and outs at Christmas, which I know she does with Deborah. And later on, of course, there was quite a lot of pro bono stuff. And now it seems to be 10k runs. In pink, of course. Did I give you the 50 pence that I promised last time? And then this is the most important bit, because in her mid-teens, she changed. She was doing ordinarily at school, sort of that good, And one night, she just changed. She said, I want to be in charge of everything, and I want it to be right. And I can tell you, she started to get good ratings, and all the time on, it was a dead certainty that at university, and she was still 4 years out from there, she was going to get a history at Leeds and going to get a first. And after that, she would conquer the world, no doubt. Now, my relationship with Caroline is obviously changed from being a servant. I had to pick her up at school, fix a new flat-pack wardrobe in her bedroom, or pick her up from a late-night party in the middle of nowhere. Now, there are some fathers, my sort of vintage amongst you, who'll remember how your loving daughters would never acknowledge your existence in front of their friends. Yeah? Have I hit the nail somewhere? Yeah. And then it changed, as I say, because I then had to drive to Leeds first and then put the shelves up, Anyway, since then, she's gone on to a successful career as a barrister. She loves the work, so she tells me, and she thinks it's great. And somehow or other, she seems to survive the 6 o'clock in the morning train and the 9 o'clock train at night and all the working at home at all hours to do things. So I know that Matt's going to have a tough time, because she's not going to be there making the food for him. Anyway, at the end of a tough day, there's no doubt about it, she can go home to her own nice flat, her grade 2 listed flat, and a lovely garden. It still needs shells, though. Now she complains. During this period, she started really travelling to exciting places. And, I've travelled a fair amount myself, and I thought that Europe, North America, and Africa was really good enough. But Caroline went to several new parts of the world, all these places with funny names which they weren't called when I went to study geography at school, And she did unusual things. And the one I want to tell you about is she decided that with some other girlfriends she'd go and travel on the Trans-Siberian Railway.
She went alone.
I'll get to the right words in a minute, hang on a second. The friends backed out for various reasons, but Caroline decided to go anyway and set off for Beijing. Now, we all got daily emails and all went well, and then there were odd references to meeting someone she happened to know vaguely. And then weeks and weeks later, and I can tell you this, that the Gobi Desert is very, very long. Guess who met her in Poland? The same guy. And this time it was obvious he was very important. So there's no doubt that Matt is a guy to be reckoned with. And it's obvious he's a complete... a complete romantic softie. On the other hand, I think Caroline was really lucky to snaffle him. He's a good guy, sensible, thoughtful, and fully in control in their relationship. And he does as he's told quite naturally. However, I have to say there's one thing that he's not so really hot on, and that's DIY. Screwdrivers and spades are not for Matt. If the equipment doesn't have a keyboard, or is not electronic, or the answer is not on a screen, he's a bit lost. However, for them, it's a good job that Caroline has really blossomed as a gardener. She really has, and any of you who've been to her home will know that she has a nice flower garden and lots of vegetables and all that sort of thing. And I'm sure some of you have eaten of it, and it's good. And it's also good, thank goodness, that she is a good cook. And when she comes home, Matt gets good food. Well, there you are, you have it. I love her dearly, and she's a lovely daughter, but I think she's going to be a lovely wife as well. Now is the time I'm supposed to offer some good advice about marriage. As you realise, that's a bit embarrassing. However, I know that Caroline is a lovely person, and I'm sure that with Matt's patience and persistence, they will continue to be very happy together. And all I have to say now is I'm going to propose a toast to the bride and groom, Mr. and Mrs. Sharp, Caroline and Matt.
Christopher, thank you for those kind words and good wishes. It makes me the happiest man alive to stand here today and say, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, on behalf of my wife and I, just wait for that ring to run out. Thank you for sharing this special day with us. Most notably, Sue and Chris, who have travelled all the way from South Africa. Spoiler alert, Caroline mentioned that earlier, but that's fine. It means a great deal to us both, and it really wouldn't be the same without you all. So we thank you from both of us. And she did it earlier, so that's fine. We'd also like to thank you for all the cards and presents that we've received. You've all been far too generous, and we really appreciate it. You're all about to witness a unique event in history, the first and very last time that the wife is going to let me speak on behalf of both of us. It is a privilege and an honour to do so. I just hope so soon into our marriage I don't let Caroline down. Now, writing the speech today was especially daunting. One, apart from a spontaneous and incredibly inebriated toast on Elle, where are you, Elle? Elle. Yeah, on Elle's birthday a good few years ago now. In which my usher Ben should be held completely responsible and should not let anyone know the details of said speech ever. Thank you very much. It was a long title, but it was a bit wordy for this time now. Yeah. So apart from that toast, this is my first speech. So you're all being kind enough so far, so that's nice. And secondly, I have to deliver it in front of my wife and her fellow lawyers. I look forward to going through the post-speech analysis with my wife later on. Now, as custom, there'll be a few toasts during my speech, so please don't neck the whole glass of champagne on the first one. Mentioning no names, Dad. Thank you. Firstly, thank you to my new in-laws for welcoming me into the family, as sincerely as you have, and thank you for raising a beautiful, intelligent, yet sometimes stubby and... Stubby? Stubborn and bossy daughter. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Deborah, thank you for making me feel welcome from day one. The first time I met Deborah, we had dinner together while Caroline was in Mongolia. I must admit that I found the idea of meeting my girlfriend's mum for the first time utterly terrifying. However, Deborah was fantastic, settled my nerves straight away, and was a complete joy. Christopher, thank you for giving me Caroline's hand in marriage. He's over there. I've just lost him. And not grilling me too hard when I asked. With the question, what are your prospects? I don't think the response you were looking for was not as good as your daughter's. It's true, though. It's true. But I can promise you that I will do everything I can to make her happy and be a good husband. Although, as you well know and have just said, I need a lot more guidance in the ways of DIY. Thanks again to both of you, and I hope I can be everything you want from a son-in-law and more. Before I move on, I would just like to thank all the other members of the family who have treated me like one of their own, and I look forward to seeing all of you at various functions in the future. Gatherings. It actually says gatherings, but we'll do functions, that's fine. Yeah. I know it's hard to believe, but I haven't always been this handsome, intelligent, charming, and modest man you see before you today. But Mum and Dad, thank you for all the advice you have given me and for putting up with me and putting me in the right direction. I've lost my mum. Where's my mum? Hi, Mum. Thanks, Dad. Over the years, my brother and I must have tested your patience in ways too hard to imagine. Granted, that was mainly Duncan. Whether it was nearly burning ourselves to a crisp with an experiment with a can of petrol and a box of matches on Christmas Eve, no less. Thank you, Dad. Patience. Or the various indoor sporting events that resulted in many a broken window and violent argument. Corridor cricket being especially volatile. Again, both my brother's ideas, so come to think of it, I was merely an accomplice, so without him I'd be the perfect son. Seriously though, they have always been there for me, Duncan too. No, Duncan too. And I hope that I've done you all proud. I really couldn't have asked for a better mum and dad, and I'd just like to say I've never heard a more appropriate ringtone go off at a ceremony before. So thanks, Dad, for really picking that one. I really couldn't have asked for a better mum and dad. Thank you both for everything that you've done. I love you dearly. So please join me in raising a glass to both sets of parents. To the parents. Thank you. Long pauses. Right, the one person in this room to which I owe the most thanks is Caroline, my beautiful wife. She almost single-handedly organised today, and I think we can all agree she looks absolutely stunning. As you all know by now, I first met Caroline in Brighton, shortly before following her to China. But what you probably do... International stalker, thank you. But what you probably don't know is that she nearly stood me up. I arrived in Beijing the day after Caroline and had arranged to meet at a hotel near my dad's. I was quite jet-lagged but very excited all the same. After 4 hours sitting on an electric scooter outside the St. Regis, that excitement soon turned to dread. Well, not soon, it took 4 hours actually. With no number to reach her on, I was beginning to think this was a big mistake and was wondering when I should give up and head back to my dad's with my tail between my legs. However, after nodding off briefly, not for the first time, I awoke to see Caroline leaping out of a cab, running towards me, apologising frantically. It turns out she had had one too many drinks the night before with some Irish boys, one of which professed his love to her, but she can tell you that later, and had overslept by some margin. But all was instantly forgiven though, and even right at the start of our adventure together, I couldn't help but feel it was the start of something truly special. Where was I? I've had the privilege of watching her progress into her career in law and helped along the way. With my great knowledge of American TV law, I have tested her at every turn. Although she recently pointed out that no one says objection in this country. Now, that was my go-to, was objection badgering the witness if I was ever losing any argument, so that's a real shame. To be honest, we seldom argue, but are prone to a lively debate or two. One early sticking point was football allegiance. Now, some of you may be unaware of this, but Caroline used to be a Manchester United fan. Boo. Yes, boo. This was just unacceptable. I simply pointed out that after a while my position in the relationship would become untenable. Bit like David Moyes, really, wasn't it? Okay, last football joke, sorry. And the only way to... No bell. The only way to save us... the only way to save us was for her to join me in the light and become a Chelsea fan. I love those boos, thank you. Also, liking how Cristiano Ronaldo looks in a pair of shorts does not make you a Man United fan. Seriously though, Caroline has made me so happy over the last 6 years, and I'm overjoyed to be married to such a beautiful woman who has my utmost respect. So please do me the great honour in toasting my brand new wife to Caroline. That definitely gets a bell, thank you, Duncan. The first bell that I wanted, thank you. At this point, I would like to thank the bridesmaids and the ushers and everyone who helped make this day possible. We couldn't have done it without you, so once again, thank you very much. You really were stars today, and there was the odd moment, but you know, we got through it, so thank you ever so much. So once again, please join me for the final toast to the wedding party. Right, now on to the best man, and thankfully the end of my speech. Andy recently gave me the honour of being his best man at his wedding, although he was so drunk when he asked me the very next night. It was my stag, so I'll forgive him. A massive thanks though to Andy and Claudia But massive thanks to Andy, who's been a great friend for a long time, and it's been a fantastic sport in the run-up to the wedding. Depending on how incriminating his speech is, we might even stay friends. So please give a warm-ish welcome for my best man, Andy.
On the road, shall we? So, hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me and haven't been keeping up with Crime Watch lately, my name is Andy and I'm the best man. And that was it. In fact, if I haven't introduced myself to you yet, then I'm already doing a pretty bad job. And believe me, things are going to get much worse from here. As I will be drinking after this speech. I'm sorry in advance, Caroline. I can only promise so much. So, Matt, I know when we spoke about speeches, we both agreed to keep them short and funny. But, unfortunately, I couldn't track down a picture of your penis. So, this is going to be a bit longer than planned. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. I had to get one knob joke into this speech, so I thought I'd get it out of the way early. So, I joke because it's actually a real privilege to be standing up here today as Matt's best man. I know. So, I've known Matt for going on 10 years now, so it was quite an honour, and it'll be quite unfortunate that it's going to take less than 10 minutes to ruin the friendship. Yes, I know there's a lot of talk about lengths of speeches, etc., but as I always say to my fiancée, don't worry, I'll make this quick. But honestly, the first time I met Matt, we completely hit it off. We were both massively drunk, sitting around a table in our halls at Sussex University. We then had more evenings of sitting around tables, massively drunk, and screaming along at the top of our lungs to Pearl Jam songs, who it turned out we both loved. In fact, as time went on, it seemed we both pretty much liked all the same things. We both played guitar, both liked the same music, same films, same TV shows, food, eating lots of it. The only thing I would say I did not agree with was the back-to-front Kangol-style hat that Matt wore in the first year. Samuel L. Jackson, he was not. And I've got the photo evidence on me if you want to see it later. Then, after university, life moved on and we both found ourselves in London trying to make our ways in our respective careers. Again, revolving around the things that we love. For Matt, this was sitting in a dark room on his arse watching football all day. I'm going to pay at my wedding. And so we both stayed in touch and eventually moved into our first flat together in London, where we really learned to discuss the finer things in life, like how to survive a zombie apocalypse. Now, post-stag do, what we know for certain now is that going to an industrial estate outside of Birmingham run by foul drama students on steroids with a roaring hangover is not the way to do it. Guys, what do you think? Anyway, these years have been some of the best of my life, and I've been giving him a hard time, which I will do again in a minute. But genuinely, Matt is a really great friend. Matt's attitude and company has always lifted me. He's the most positive, glass half full, funniest guy I know, as well as being the most down-to-earth person, until he starts speaking about himself. So I've covered off the last 10 years I've known Matt, but what was he like before then? Obviously, I needed to do a bit of digging pre-2004. So, Matt, I've been in touch with your mum, and this is what I've discovered. Quite a curious one, actually. So, your mum tells me that you were arrested at about 3 a.m, drunk, trying to stop a friend from stealing the Eastbourne College sign. Now, I'm sure that you were arrested drunk at 3 a.m. The part I really struggle to believe is that you were trying to stop someone from stealing the sign. Yeah. Seeing that this story comes to me via your mum, I can only assume that she knows the version of this that paints you in a rather favourable light. So anyway, Matt was too drunk to run away when the police arrived, whereas this phantom sign stealer that so valiantly tried to stop is long gone. Caroline, I would suggest you cross-examine him later. Matt is then arrested and taken to... Matt is then arrested and taken to the Nick and held there very briefly, not long enough in some people's opinion. So when Sue arrives to collect her drunken son, there was Matt swaying, looking very pleased with himself, having managed to get a female police officer's number. So, the end of this story really hits the nail on the head for me with Matt. No matter how much of a prat he is, he seems to punch way above his weight with the ladies, and he's always landing on his feet. Which, of course, brings me on to the wonderful, lovely, beautiful Caroline. Caroline, before I go into the story of how you two met, 'cause I don't think anyone's heard it yet, just let me say how amazing you look. You've done the best job ever organising today. It's been so awesome, and I hope I haven't ruined it just yet. Matt, well done for picking some music. Must have been pretty tough. So, obviously, the story of how Matt and Caroline got together is pretty amazing. I know you've all heard it, and I'm sorry that I'm going to go over it again now, but I've got a few minutes to kill. So, it was July 2008, and Caroline was helping Kat move out of her Brighton flat when Matt was helping his friend Andy C move in. So, post-heavy lifting, they all went off to the beach, as you do in Brighton. Obviously, Matt had taken a shine to Caroline as he engaged in the oldest trick in the book to impress her, throwing stones down her top. I would go out on a limb here to say that hadn't sealed the deal at that point. However, Matt had learned that Caroline was going to China in a week to start her travelling adventures on the Trans-Siberian Express. When it was time for Caroline to head off, Matt walked her to the station, numbers were exchanged along with the idea for meeting for a drink before they set off for China. Sorry, not him. We didn't know that at that point. So, texts were then exchanged and a drink was arranged. I should caveat at this point that Caroline was very busy preparing for her travelling, not to mention law school in September. So, with a million things to organise, Caroline had to call Matt to cancel the drink. During that fateful... Yeah. So, during that fateful call, she jokingly said to Matt, "Oh, I have a free week at the start of my trip in Beijing if you want to come." To which Matt jokingly responded that he'd love to, but he had work. So that was the end of that, or at least that is what Caroline thought. I said that Matt replied jokingly to Caroline, as this is what I've been told, but I think that his confidence levels were so blindingly high that even at this stage, he might have actually thought that Caroline was being serious and inviting him along with her on her trip. Especially seeing what happened next, which was a drunken voicemail on Caroline's phone the next day saying he was coming to Beijing for a week. So obviously Matt's plan had worked, as Caroline felt she had to meet him again before they spent a week together in China. The pre-China drinks turned into dinner, and then kissing, and then during their time together in China, love blossomed. Matt was actually very romantic in what he did next as well, which was then to meet Caroline at the end of her trip in Poland. So 2 weeks in Poland together, and then fast forward to today, a happily married couple on a beautiful day with two wonderful families joining paths. So. So. In short, a really wonderful story that still continues today, and one in which Matt has really managed to land on his feet at every turn. As most of his friends say, he's a very lucky git. I mean, Caroline could have quite easily have decided that Matt following her to China was a bit serial killerish, and have blocked his calls or reported him to the police for stalking. But it was a ballsy, confident, gut instinct move that paid off. And this is what I love about Matt. He follows his gut. He may be an idiot sometimes, but I can guarantee you that he is a man of morals and a man who knows how to stick to his guns, even when he's wrong. In other words, his gut and his heart is always in the right place, and he will not be swayed. There are a few out there like you, Matt, probably for a good reason. But Caroline, you are lucky to have him too in your life. I mean, Matt's about 10 times luckier. But look after him. He's a keeper. Matt, what's going on back there? In the middle of something here. Matt, put the toilet seat down and pick up your pants after you, and you'll be fine. So, to conclude, I had a last-minute bulletin that I need to bring in here, and this is from Caroline's uncle and auntie in Australia, so just a quick message from down under. Oi, oi. So... So this is from Chrissy and Linda in Australia. Handwriting's... yeah, I need glasses. So... He has learned that only two things are necessary... yeah. No. No. He has learned that only two things are necessary to keep a wife happy. First, let her think she's having her own way, and second, let her have it. Her own way. And for me, haha, I love being married. It's so great to find the one special person you want to annoy for the rest of your life. Please remember, whatever the argument or disagreement, never go to bed angry. Kiss and wake up. So, to conclude, a few things to wrap up here. First, I would like to raise a glass to some people who, without them, and all the love, knowledge and care they've imparted over the years to the bride and groom, we would not be here. So, if you could all join me in raising a glass to Sue, Deborah, Peter and Christopher, and join me in saying both thank you and congratulations. Cheers. Now, is there anything else? Oh yeah, bride and groom. There may be bumpy times to go the smooth times, and so I wish you happiness, peace, strength, and love for all the years ahead. And I believe someone once famously said, the only true gift is a portion of yourself. So, please all join me in raising your glasses to Matt and Caroline. And now I get to do this.